Welcome back to the podcast. We are so excited today because we have heard from multiple people in the past couple of weeks, and even we have experienced this ourselves in our own businesses, that it's really difficult to keep moving forward when there is a lack of sales or your sales are very low compared to what they used to be. Maybe you're new and you haven't had any sales or clients yet. Maybe you're at a new level of business and um, like Marley and I experienced last year, we changed our business model, which meant that we paused our sales purposefully for a bit. And so we want to talk about today how you hold the energy in your business, how you keep the momentum going in your business, how you keep your mind in check, your mindset in check to keep moving towards your goals in business when there may not be evidence that this business is going to work, where there may not be clients yet, or your clients have all rolled out and you do not have new clients. Like all of these things could potentially happen at different parts of your business. And personally, I'm excited to talk to Marley about this today because she had to walk me through this multiple times in my business last year. She had to check my mindset multiple times in 2022. I changed my business model twice, once in a direction that did not feel good, and then back in a direction that felt really good. And still, sales were not coming yet, right? The next sales were not coming yet. Clients were rolling out and new clients weren't coming in yet. I had past evidence, but what my brain needed was this new evidence to keep me going. And so this is important to talk about. We know it's important because we are not the only ones who experience this. We talk to our clients about this consistently. And so we're going to talk about what you can do in that time that you don't feel like you have evidence or clients or sales. And we're going to talk about the business approach, the mindset, practical strategy that you can actually take today and go implement if this is a place where you are, to be able to navigate this season. So I'm going to turn it over to Marley. And just first, before we get started, I have to ask this first so I don't forget to ask mostly. But we talk about holding the energy all the time, right? We hear it on Instagram. We hear it on social media. We hear it on podcasts. We hear it from our coaches. What the crap does holding the energy mean to a person who, like, what energy? Like, what are we talking about?
Right. Well, I want to say this is part one of, we decided to do a two-part as well. So next episode, we're going to be talking about the financial side of what to do with Becca. So I just wanted to make sure that those of you listening to today, if you think this is helpful, you're going to want to come to the next episode definitely to listen to the financial and money side of it, because there are two totally different approaches that are equally as important to navigate a tough sales season. And so energy. Let's talk energy for a second, because I know Becca and I laugh all the time. Like, we are the most non-woo people, but we have learned about Becca, I think one day you said you caught the woo flu. Or you heard it somewhere, I don't know. But like, we both have sort of come around, because what I used to think was woo was like a witchy. I have since learned that it's actually like, there's a lot of stuff that's rooted in science and mindset that comes across as woo when people talk about things like energy, which sound kind of flighty and airy and wishy-washy. So what does energy mean? Like, I have tangibles when I think of energy, because I'm someone that needs, like, show me the thing. Like, I need to see it to believe it. So how do I navigate? Like, what is energy? What does it mean to hold your energy in seasons of high sales and low sales? What does it mean to hold your energy regardless of the evidence and regardless of the external validation that we seek through things like getting a sale or having a new client sign or having somebody validate you or tell you that you're good at what you do? Or results, really, or outcomes, like using outcomes as the reason that your energy is high. And then when you don't have results or sales or the outcome that you wanted, your energy is low. And so okay, let's talk about what it looks like first of all. So as a new business owner or someone who is really attached to outcomes, your energy is literally like a roller coaster. So your energy is happy, positive, high vibe, confident when you're winning.
Mm.
And when you're not, or when sales are low, because that's not an indication of not winning, it just can be a sign of transition. Your energy is low. You're insecure. You're, wah, wah, and you're not excited. Your voice changes. You're not showing up face to camera in your Instagram stories, and you're really insecure and needy. And that's the energy that you're putting out into the world. So when someone does reach out to you about an offer that you're promoting and they ask you a question about it, you jump on it and you answer it immediately. And then you follow up with them and you ask them, what else do you need to know from me to make a decision? And you're just really, really like anxious about getting an answer or getting the sale. And it's almost like,
it's
go
almost
ahead.
desperation, right? Like,
It's desperation. Yes, absolutely. And it's that's an energy that comes across and you might not even realize it, but it's there because you're refreshing your DMs and you're literally living on Instagram all day long and checking and refreshing and going to Stripe and your payment processor of choice, and you're looking to see where you're at, and it's just this constant need for validation. And that is what keeps you on that energy roller coaster of high highs and low lows. And what happens over time as you mature in business, you learn to become less attached, but it doesn't happen just naturally. Part of it does, but it's a skill and it's something that you have to learn and choose into, and then it becomes second nature and it becomes easy over time. So then the high highs and low lows become more of like rolling hills. Like you're still going to have ups and downs. You're still going to have shifts in your energy because you're a human being. And that is absolutely normal. It's just that you're not going to be on a high, for 3 weeks, and then that low is going to hit and you're going to be equally as low for 3 weeks. It's going to be like, an hour, and you're going to have a little pity party this afternoon. And then you're going to pick up your feet and have a snack because you realized your blood sugar was low, and you're going to go and get back to it. Like you're just going to be going through these little blips, and you're going to know how to navigate them in time as you mature as a business owner. So what that leads to is like, okay, so what do you do when you are like, I'm a 10-year plus vet now in business. So I'm in a new business online, which is a transition, but I'm not a new business owner. And I do know about energy and I do know how to manage my energy, but there was still some shifts that happened as I stepped into a new business. So then there was even some shifts that happened a year and a half into business when it was working and it was very successful, where I had to go, okay, I don't love some of the ways that my business is running right now. I don't love some of the strategies that I'm using. And I want to shift away from them, even though they're working. And that meant choosing a dip in income, because that meant choosing a strategy that I didn't have any evidence would work to generate leads. When I had generated 6 figures in my first year as a new business owner online with a strategy that was working, but I didn't like. So how do you manage your energy in a transition when you're shifting from one business model to another, for example, like I did? How do you manage your energy when you're going from teaching free master classes to paid master classes, or, starting a whole new business? There's so many transitions that happen going from low ticket to high ticket offers, or high ticket to low ticket offers, expanding the offers that you do have. There's so many transitions that happen. And when you grow your business, they say like bigger kids, bigger problems. Like as your kids turn into teenagers, all of a sudden it's like, well, they're bigger. Now the problems might get bigger. It's not going to necessarily get easier. Like bigger business, bigger problems.
Yeah.
So it's like when you make more money, you end up spending more money. You buy a bigger house, you buy the boat, you get the quad, you get all the toys. I always think toys. That's what my husband always talks about. So it's, there's always going to be challenge, and your job. So that brings me back to your question is like, so what is energy and how do we navigate it? Your job is to learn, how can I keep my energy up here? How can I keep that level 10 confidence regardless of the outcomes? And so that can look like a lot of things. But it's really about you learning like, well, what do you have control over? So that is a really important exercise, to just sit down with a pen and paper and write out, what do you have control over in your business?
Okay, I have to interject. This was a pivotal point in my business last year when I was spiraling about everything that could happen in this house happened last year, aside from death. Thank God. But like all of everything with the house was falling apart. all the appliances had to be replaced. We had a forced renovation because of a leak in the roof. Like, we were sick basically 360 days out of 365. It felt like hit after hit after hit, which made it very difficult to focus on business. And when I did focus on business, what I learned about myself was I was only focused on the things that I absolutely could not control. And so this exercise specifically was a pivotal point for me to shift what I was focusing my energy on, my hours on that I did have for business. And when I did that, there were only like 4 things that I could control in my business. There were like 8,500 that I could not control, that I was worried about all the time. When I shift my focus to those 4 things that I absolutely could control, it influenced all of the things that were not in my control, and momentum shifted. Not necessarily in sales at first, but like energy wise, I felt better in the mornings. I felt more excited to come to business, to stay consistent, which is one of the things that I can control, right? Um, and it changed the way that I thought about my business when sales had not caught up, when clients had not caught up, and it changed how I viewed that evidence not being there yet or
Mm.
there again. So if there's literally only thing you hear in this entire episode, draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper and write all of the things that you absolutely cannot control in your business. And then I want you to write all the things that you can control in your business. And that list is going to be significantly shorter because there are not many things you can control in your business. And then focus on only those things. That was a game changer for me. I still think about that.
Yeah, I want you to think about, like, so let's give some examples. You can't control a client saying yes or no. You can control the information you give, you can control the energy you bring to the conversation, you can control how open you are, how many people you invite, talk to. You can't control yeses and nos. You can't control pay in fulls. You can't control who's going to pay you in full versus who's going to take a payment plan. You can't control, if you're a coach and you have a group coaching program, how many people show up to the live calls. Like, there's so many things that you just can't control over. There's things you can do to encourage, to guide, to teach people how to treat you, teach people how to take advantage of the offers that you have for your audience or your clients, but you can't control people. So that brings me to something that you sparked when you were sharing that, Becca, is like, would you hire you?
Oof.
So when Becca was desperate, spiraling, overwhelmed by all the things she couldn't control, like, what energy was that bringing to how she showed up on social media, how she showed up when she talked about her offers, how she showed up to coaching conversations with clients, to re-signing conversations with clients. I'm just speaking broadly. I'm not saying you did these things. And then how did Becca show up that day that she felt the energy shift? She woke up in the morning peaceful. She woke up in the morning, or more peaceful, because she's still a human being. Okay. But I don't want to like give people this idea that, I think there's a lot of these conversations online that's like, just get in control of your energy and then you'll feel amazing all the time. Like, no, there are a lot of people doing 6-figure months that are still absolutely spiraling because bigger business, bigger problems. And it's just about, how do you navigate the spirals? How do you take them from 3 weeks to 3 days, or, 3 days to 3 hours? So that's realistically the grasp you want on it, not how do I stop feeling this way. So
Right.
would you hire you? Are you showing up in that needy, desperate roller coaster energy? And is that the kind of person you want to hire or to work with? Or are you showing up with somebody who is so focused on what they can control, unattached to the outcome, here to serve, here to do the thing that they're passionate about? And, it's up to you if you buy or not. But either way, I trust that I'm in this for the long haul. And I know that people have gone before me, which gives me the evidence that I need, that it's possible. But I need to choose that I'm a find a way, make a way kind of person. And that is where your energy needs to lie.
One thing that just made me think of something else, just a professional problem solver. right? Marley talks about this all the time. She identifies as a professional problem solver, and that prevents her from going into victim mode, right? Like, okay, something my mom, I don't know if we've said this on this podcast yet, but something my mom has told me my entire life, woe is me. Now get up. Okay, great. You had your pity party. You allowed yourself to feel like, oh, this is really hard. It is hard. It can be hard. What are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
We're not going to, and this isn't from like, this isn't from a
Your feelings don't matter
your
angle.
feelings don't, right. This is not from a non-empathetic place. This is like, great. You actually have choices, whether you realize it or not. Which one are you going to choose?
Yeah.
And the best part about that is if you choose one thing that doesn't work, you still have other options and you can just change your mind.
Make a choice and move. That's what it is.
And the other thing that you said was you can then start showing up for clients like, well, you know, are you going to, you say yes or you say no, it doesn't matter to me. That is also not from a place of, is this a yes or a no? Like, I'm not going to answer your questions. That's not what this
Sassy
is.
pants.
It's a,
I know my worth. I know that I have an answer that you clearly need or you wouldn't be here. So if it feels like a good fit for you, great. And if it doesn't, cool.
Right. It comes from a place of self-belief and self-trust. It comes from a place of, Marley and I say this to each other all the time. I am really freaking good at what I do. like on days where I'm having a great day, I send her a message, Marley, I am so freaking good at what I do. And on days where I'm having like a rough, emotional, like hilly day, Marley's like, Becca, you're like really freaking good at what you do. You have to breathe that self-belief into yourself. And if you are having a day where you can't breathe that into you, you better have yourself surrounded by people who will breathe that into you.
Yes.
So this
Game changer.
also energy, this is just kind of a light bulb that went off in my head. When I think about energy, I think about self-belief. I believe this is absolutely possible. I don't quite have the evidence for it yet, but I know that it's coming. I know the people are coming. I know the sales are coming. I know the money's coming. I know that with every cell in my body. And when you get to that place, you are literally unstoppable, even on the days where you can't quite get to that place where your brain is like, we're back here, like not believing in ourselves today. So I don't know. That is just now how I think about energy as of
It is. That's exactly it. So I want to give one more tangible before we wrap up this episode. And it's that, so let me give you a tangible example of what I mean by I focused on my energy when my business was shifting and I had no evidence. So what gives me energy? So not just what I have control over. So I have control over posting on social media. I have control over going live. I have control over how often I show up, how my energy when I show up, those things. So how do you know what then to prioritize for you and how to leverage your energy? So for me, the tangible example is that I am energized when I am teaching. This podcast is the perfect example. This lights me up. I like talking versus writing. I like teaching and mentoring and educating. And I love talking to my audience. And so I prioritized in my business Instagram and Facebook lives, weekly Q&A sessions. Doing this podcast, it was actually birthed in this season. When I was a new coach, I gave away free strategy calls because that gave me a lot of confidence and practice and experience and evidence that I had control over. So what would energize you? What would give you excitement and passion and enthusiasm in your business that you have control over versus what you obviously don't have control over, or chasing strategies that don't give you energy that you're doing because you see other people doing and you're telling yourself you should too.
Just to wrap that little point up with a bow, that's when our businesses like completely exploded last year. When we decided, I hate the DMs. I love chatting with you in the DMs, but I don't like a DM strategy. Like it actually reversed some some of the sales in my business because I was not into it. Not because it doesn't work for people, but because I was like, this sucks. I hate doing this. This is not fun. And that like came across, right? That was like very evident. What Marley and I realized because we were paying attention to where we felt excited, to where we felt lit up, to where we all of a sudden had light bulbs go off on things that we could teach about or talk about. It was when we were talking. It was when we were speaking in groups. It was when we were in front of people. I'm a former teacher. So being in front of people is like where I shine. I'm not perfect, but like it makes me come alive. And that is where we decided to put all of our energy into business the last part of 2022 and this part of like the beginning of 2023. I do have a question for you. We are filming this or recording this in February of 2023. Marley has something incredible that's coming up, and I want you to share with us how they can get more information and more tangibles and more like depth into following the energy, finding the energy, like holding the energy in their business.
Yeah, I have a masterclass coming up in March, and it's called The Space Between. So it's all about how to thrive in the space between where you are and where you want to be. And we are going to talk about the hard truths of that season of business and being in that space, and both some practical and mindset strategies to run with that are we're going to go even more in depth than we did today with just focusing on energy. And this is really about, regardless of where you're at in your business, if you are in a space of transition right now and you are finding yourself very attached to outcomes and you're finding yourself having a lot of doubt and wondering and maybe questioning if you're in the right place or if you're cut out for this, or all those things that we wonder at times, I'm going to be sharing with you a lot more about some of the personal shifts that I made in my business, how I shifted away from a strategy that brought me six figures and literally walked away from it when it was working, and some really big decisions I had to make in my business and how I navigated that space between, so that not only just navigate, not only just survive, but thrive in that space. And I'm so excited to have this conversation because it is so much deeper than just learning another strategy. There's so much more to talk about and to grow the muscles in that are not just another business strategy.
And to really translate into other parts of your life.
Oh,
Because
hugely.
That's not just a business mindset, right? That's a life mindset. How can they get in touch with you if they want in on this masterclass?
What I'm going to do is put a link in the show notes. So I'm going to give you guys a special link that you can register at a discounted price. So it'll be under this episode. Or if you, for some reason, couldn't find it, you're always welcome to come and hang out on Instagram. My handle is always in the show notes as well.
Okay. All right. We'll see you in part 2.
Yes, we're going to dive into the money and financial side of holding space for yourself and what to do when you're in a space of transition financially with your money.